By the budget discussions. Good day. Thank you for joining us again for the Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. This is episode 112. Special welcome to those of you joining us live today, March 24, 2024. Remember, you may send your comments at any time to us. This podcast will be available on the Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast YouTube channel after this live broadcast. Please subscribe by simply touching that button. Desmond Richards, Winnie Anderson Brown, and Mary White are with us today, and we thank them. We're going to give you a summary. They're going to give you each a summary of what they are about to say. We're going to start with you, Desmond.
Well, it is so difficult to find something to talk about in Jamaica, something positive. We have a governance, we have a wife and husband situation at top of the governance system. Then we have crime, fraud, fatalities. People can't get water. People can't find money to buy food. The situation is so negative and terrible in Jamaica that I wonder where we are heading and what when you listen to the leaders, yes, they are making a lot of promises, but the reality on the ground for the people is intolerable.
Okay, so we're going to come back to Desmond and we'll get a summary now from you, Mary.
Today, I am going to talk about posture. As a past student of Highgate All-Age School, my teachers were all about posture, posture, posture. So I just want to send out a big hail up to Miss Stewart, Miss Mackenzie, Miss Elliott, Miss Phipps, those women who groomed me. Little did I know that good posture has great health benefits without costing you a dollar. So stay tuned today while I share 3 instant benefits of good posture.
Beautiful. Winnie? Over to you, Winnie.
Well, today I'm going to take an objective look at conflict of interest in the Houses of Parliament and the issue of walking out of Parliament.
Okay, all right. And I'm going to speak on something. Desmond said that there's very little that is positive around, but I'm going to speak on tools and guns. Tools and guns, but we'll come back there. Yeah. Let's start with you now, Desmond.
Yes. Well, on top of the table is that Jamaica is number one again. Jamaica is the only country in the Commonwealth where you have a husband and wife team manning the central pillars of government. The judiciary, parliament, and the executive are our 3 main pillars. And in Jamaica, it's we are the only country, and it might be global. Now, this is totally unacceptable, totally. And the actions, when you look at how the speaker is handling her portfolio, is negative. She's there to protect her husband. It is difficult for me to find something positive to talk about. Over 250 murders since the start of the year. This is more than the amount of persons killed in Haiti, where there's a civil war. Fatalities on the road. People can't get water. People can't afford to buy food for themselves and their families. Yes, the minimum wage went up to 15,000. But, wow, go into a shop with 15,000 and you will see what you walk out with. What we have in Jamaica right now is an intolerable situation. Very, very bad for the vast majority of Jamaicans. And the way ahead look dismal.
Now, Desmond, I wanted to mention two things. One was the fact that the minimum wage is not yet increased. It's supposed to go up in June. So that's just a slight amendment, but it will go up. And the second part of what I wanted to ask you now is, give us an understanding of why the husband and wife situation, relationship matters with regard to Mrs. Holness in charge of the Speaker of the House, who has to follow standing orders, and Mr. Andrew Holness, her husband, in charge of the government, the executive branch.
Well, first of all, what we want those branches of government to be independently managed, right? The leader, the prime minister heads the executive, the chief justice, the judiciary, and the speaker of the house, the parliament. Now we want whoever head those three pillars to be independent. Now let us be very, very frank about this situation. It is very difficult. I am not talking about the speaker's professional integrity here. I'm not talking about that. It is very difficult to have for a wife to be independent of her husband. Let's face it. And it is
difficult for a woman to be independent of her husband, a wife to be independent of her husband. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it is very difficult. And I am saying it is impossible for a wife to be independent of her husband. And she's a member of the political party which is in power. And therefore, every member, the PNP members, they are protecting their party. The JLP members are also protecting their party. And it is going to be difficult for the speaker. For example, any bad news coming from the Integrity Commission, from the Auditor General's Department, any reports that is going to embarrass the government, then the speaker and will do whatever is possible to delay and to keep it away from us. For example, those two reports from the Auditor General that was submitted from December 29 and 28, why they were not tabled in the House? Why we, the public, didn't have access to them? She sent them back last Friday. She sent them back to the Auditor General without any explanation. I am saying that this situation is totally unacceptable, and no amount of intellectualizing, can cover up this. It is something
and I don't think it's intellectualizing to say that a woman indeed can be independent of independent thoughts, entirely different to her husband, or thoughts different to his.
I am not talking about thinking, sir. You and I don't think the same way. Everybody think differently. That's not what I'm talking about. Of course, she's thinking differently from her husband. I'm saying a wife and husband association is a special arrangement, A wife and husband.
It is a special arrangement and a special.
Yeah, it's a special arrangement, and it is once that relationship is intact, a husband is not going to hide things from his wife, and vice versa. And vice versa. And in this situation, this political situation where both of them have political interest to protect, I want somebody to tell me if the speaker is going to hide things from her husband that is detrimental to her party.
Right. Okay. Winnie, you are dealing with a similar related issue. A related issue of governance. So let's hear from you.
Yes. But I come from a very different angle. What I look at, first of all, I must quickly say, it's time for us to look at the issue of walking out. Are you still hearing me?
We're hearing you well.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we are hearing you, Winnie. Go ahead.
I saw that this screen. Okay. What I'm saying is this. I look at it from a different angle. The issue of walking out, let me speak to that first. And I'll just ask a question. when members of parliament walk out, or when the opposition or the ruling party, well, the ruling party, that's a different matter. But when the members of parliament walk out of the house, on whom are they walking out? Whose interest are they serving when they walk out? I am sure it's not the interest of the people who send them there. I don't want to spend the whole time on that. But what I want to share with you is that while I was looking at the issue of walking out, I had time to look deeply at what happened in Parliament this week. And what came home forcefully to me is that the leader of the opposition, I think his presentation, the section where he spoke to the Speaker of the House, I say that was ill-timed and ill-advised. However, when I looked at the Prime Minister, I realized that it was not the Prime Minister of Jamaica that walked out. It was the husband of Juliet Holness, who was not happy with what was being said about his wife. And that was when the conflict of interest became very clear to me. It has nothing to do with her competence. It has nothing to do with whether or not she has been doing well in her position. It has nothing to do with her gender, but a simple business of conflict of interest. And it's the first time we have been here. It's the first time we're having two couples in the House of Parliament. So it is time for us to take a look at that. It's conflict of interest as far as I see it. And that was
Winnie, I just want to take
and
you
unfortunately,
sorry, you go ahead. You finish your presentation. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, unfortunately, when they walked out of the house, that's okay. If you feel like you're going to punch someone, walk out, but don't stay out. Go back inside, take a breather and go back. Don't end the reason for your going to Parliament in the first place by walking out and leaving the business undone. So conflict of interest is the problem that I see in the House, and it is time for us to deal with that so that that does not happen again. And I repeat, it's not about her gender. It is not about her competence. It is not about how she has been handling the business that she is supposed to handle. It is conflict of interest.
Okay, and that's an angle you've come to it on, and I want to support you on the point you made about the Mr. Andrew Holness walking out. To bring it back going within the realm of what Desmond was saying, because what his reaction is not the Prime Minister reacting to a member of the House was being spoken of, or the Speaker of the House was being spoken of. It was a personal, emotional sense of talking about my wife, and it wasn't an attack on her either, and it was not about her competence or her integrity.
No.
But that point that you have made is the very point that we mentioned when we say this is a matter of it's a conflict of interest matter, but it's a matter of husband and wife. It's not about how a member of the House might be represented. In fact, this unprecedented walkout of the governing side is significant. I think, Winnie, I want to also support you on the business of why should we be walking out? We walk out as a mark of protest of what somebody on the other side is saying, or maybe even of the speaker. But perhaps it's a time now for Jamaican parliamentarians in the House and the Senate to consider this matter of whether they're walking out on the people of Jamaica rather than on the other side. Before we go on to my
one of the things, dear Franklin, is that that can be settled if they decide to put the people first. No, one of the things, is that we have to get serious about this thing. The politicians the members of parliament were elected by the people to represent them, right? Now, when you look at Jamaica and when you look at what is happening to the people, the level of representation that we are getting from our members of parliament needs some serious attention. So if the question you ask, the answer to that is, to me, is a simple one. If they decide to put people's interests first, then they will understand that, listen, when I go to parliament, I don't go there because I am representing the opposition or I am representing the government. I'm going there because I'm representing the people who elect me. And therefore, I can't turn my back on their business.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Desmond. Now, Mary, I know we are monitoring some comments. You want to share them with us now, or you want me to move on into my comments first?
Move on in yours first, sir.
Okay. All right. Frankly speaking, it's a pity that important announcements and proposals advanced in the budget cycle have had to share attention with the governance issues, specifically the one we are just speaking about, with the Speaker and their affiliation with the Prime Minister. Although we know that the last few reports from Statin have indicated unemployment rates at just over 4%, we must not take that to mean that there are not thousands of unattached youth, men and women, just waiting for their idle hands to be used. You can see them in some areas as early as 7:30 in the morning on this corner with liquor and rub out the hand middle. Now, and frankly speaking, others are there available, or as in recent trials in the courts, available to be recruited as hitmen. Now, remember, only about 65% of the age group 14 to 65 years old are in the labor force. That is to say, they say they are looking for work, in work, want to be involved. And that's the group from which the unemployment rate is calculated. So we don't get into the technicalities, frankly speaking. Lots of young people are out there not doing anything, and nothing now going with them. In the recent local government election, several candidates I spoke with stressed their interest in getting hard to commence projects for training in their communities. In St. Anne, in the divisions, where I was speaking with them, the candidates said that although there were heart centers in Runaway Bay, for example, and Beechamville, young people in their communities who had finished schools couldn't afford the fares to get to these centers. And many had skills, but they were just not certified. So the CARE program now, announced by the Prime Minister, to be launched this year, we are told, should help those youngsters. In speaking about it in the budget presentation, as the Prime Minister said, quote, HEART will be proactive in finding you, that is the young people, and bringing you to the well of training. If our economy is to grow, we need every able-bodied man and woman who is able and capable to enter the labor force. That's what Mr. Holness said. So these young people hang about in their communities day and night, the difficulty to engage them, and I'm interested in how they are going to be engaged. But here's what the program offers. Under the system, you can't force them to go to HEART, even though $13,000 a week in stipend is paid to them. They're paid to go to school or to go train, go do their labor. And $15,000 a month, or just under $4,000 a week, is paid to assist transportation. And remember, it's not necessarily every day they're going to go to school. In effect, then, they are better off going to HEART than working for the straight minimum wage. Now, this is very significant, I find. I hope CARE works. I hope not just members of parliament, but with parish councillors, but with Social Development Commission. Prime Minister didn't mention Social Development Commission and the Community Development Commissions. I hope they help with the young people, and I hope CARE works. Because if it does not, we'll end up with young men carrying tools, that is the tool, the gun, rather than tools of trade. If it does not work, the price will fall for engaging a killer hitman and his tool. And that's my comment today.
Well, if you want us to go to the comments, no, Sir Mac, or audience is quite engaged with the issues we discussed of the Parliament and the PM walking out. But as I say, if we live in a glass house, don't throw stones. So all of us are human. So when we judge harshly, let's remember that we're all humans and all have human feelings, and it's hard to switch the hat. But let's hear what our viewers are saying. We have Rubion, who says very unacceptable. We have they're going to defend each other. Yes, Rubion, humanly so I would defend my husband as well. So maybe it may be a conflict of interest to sit in a position that my husband I may have occasion to defend him. So I agree. Marshall Lee, hey Marshall Lee. We have Marshall Lee says she refused to get involved in the politics of it. But can we respectfully think about a more elegant way of stating what is the state of affairs from the comment uttered by Mark Golding, who she said was just talking about the traditions of Parliament? We have Keith Palmer. He should have known that she would be attacked because she's a public servant and take it personally or keep her out of the politics. Another promise. Let's see if the government will keep its promise. We hear you, Keith. So that's it by way of comments from our viewers. If you guys have any responses.
Okay, Mary, but let's take you now before we think about what we might respond for. We don't want to lose. We'll be rushing you.
Yeah.
Posture, you said.
Yes, posture. We have heard those words being repeated so many times by our teachers, especially. My mother was one of those people who was big on posture. And I am now learning as an adult that posture has a lot of health benefits. And it doesn't cost us anything to practice good posture, but it can be quite expensive when we keep slouching, because those can have repercussions for our health and because our skeleton is involved. One of the instant benefits, there are several benefits, but this evening I'm going to appeal to your sense of vanity because I'm a vain person. Everybody knows that. So one of the instant benefits of posture is that you look slimmer in seconds. Right? If you stand up straight, hold your frame upright, squeeze your shoulder blade back, press the top of your buttocks against your chair when you sit or when you stand, you press into your heel. It elevates your posture and you begin to look slimmer in seconds. Ladies, up to 5 pounds slimmer with the right posture. So this week you'd want to try that on and just that, because a lot of us look fat or fatter than we need to because we slouch. When we slouch, the face curl, the disc curl, the belly roll up. We don't want that. Second benefit is that you look taller. So as a 5 feet, 5.5-inch girl, looking tall, because we see the supermodels. What makes supermodels look so good? Their height. So imagine you could put on another 2 inches with the right posture. Who wouldn't want that instantly? So I'm going to stand up tall this week and look at least 2 inches taller. The final benefit that I'm going to give to appeal to your sense of vanity is bolder. When you stand properly, you look bolder. You boost your confidence. You become more productive. You become more confident. You become just this ball of energy that everybody wants to be around because you're this slim, tall, bold person in the room. So I'm throwing out the challenge to all my listeners out there this week. When you're at work, you want to try sitting upright. If you're walking on the road, hold your frame up high, your head up high, and just walk. Sit, stand, and just stand tall this week and enjoy the benefits and save the money savings in the long run of posture.
Thank you, Mary. But you're not saying that short people can't need to look tall.
They can look tall with the right posture. That's what I'm saying. Say a person do you see even some short supermodels, Sir Matt? Because they practice to walk and hold their frame upright versus slouchy. Even a short person looks tall and confident. It's the look.
I can
As
remember.
a short person in the room?
Yes.
I can remember at school
Yes.
one of the things that was constantly said by our teacher. Sit up, boy. Yes. It was
This is very important. What you saying, Winnie?
the
Well,
question
you know,
of posture.
it's funny that you said that,
Yes,
you know, Desmond and Mary, because
as a short person.
go ahead, Winnie. Go ahead, please. Go ahead, Winnie.
I'm saying, as a short person in the room that is happy short, my concern though is for the children with the knapsack on the back. They are slouching, and I am concerned about that. When you see them walking on the roads, that's a huge problem for me.
Yes.
The chiropractors will have a lot of work to do with these children.
Winnie, I think the knapsack is supposed to help the frame, keep the frame
They
upright.
are slouching.
They bulge all
as
of the
they
weight.
walk.
And then because they don't
Yes,
practice, Winnie, you're
that's the
so
problem.
right. That's going to come back with a lot of bad problem because when you align your posture aligns your spine. When you slouch, what it does, it shifts your spinal bone, and after time you're going to have back problems. So as I say, you don't want the health benefits, the health hazards of poor posture. So practice. If a knapsack is not working, maybe the parents need to get the pull bags that the children can take the pressure off their back to bring, because it starts in their youth and follows them into adulthood with a bad posture.
Well, very interesting also that Desmond mentioned that his teacher used to say, sit up, boy.
Sit up, boy. Because when you sit up, right, it improves your oxygen. And oxygen, when you sit up straight, it aligns your spine to breathe better. And when you breathe better, you learn better. Sometimes it's the oxygen blocking off the children's brain while they're dunce.
Before we start cut out, Mary, I see a few more comments coming in. I don't know if you can grab them and
let me look at the comments coming in.
But you know, I had a principal, you know, Desmond, whose name was Jeff Brown. He was about 6'3", and you know, as a small boy in first form, you think, man, this man's a giant, and he was also a military guy, but. He used to say, he used to actually punch you in the stomach sometimes. You know, say, stand straight, boy, stand straight. Stop slouching. And I remember him all the time. I don't know how many principals bother to even tell people, our teachers, our parents bother to tell their children to stand straight or stand with the shoulders forward, but never mind. All right.
We have Keith Sermak.
Go ahead.
Join in the discussion. We have Keith. I agree with you so much on posture. I am suffering with my spine because of not following the proper posturing. We have Davia. Some people will still look short regardless of an upright frame, and we would have to depend on innate qualities to exhibit confidence or some high heels. I substitute as well with some high heels some days. We have Davia adjusting posture for health benefits is a universal benefit for all. Let's emphasize this. Everyone does not need to look like a supermodel, but I suppose we can all practice good posture and get the benefits.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your comments. We really appreciate your feedback. I want to thank, we just run out of time again today. I want to thank all of you who joined us for this Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. Special thanks to Mary, Winnie, and Desmond, and to technical facilitator, Joshua Black. Remember, you can watch this podcast at any time at the Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast YouTube channel. And look here, I'm just going to say again, we have several issues that we didn't get through. We want to go back to that market business, but we're going to get there. I'm Franklin McKnight. Until then.